History Inside a Nutshell, the show where we sail into our port of call discussing maritime history. The great liners may, as it had been claimed for them, be practically unsinkable, but they are far from being invulnerable. This chilling foresight from the Aberdeen Journal in 1911 gives us a description of human error and how it couldn't be avoided. This is easier said than done, but these thoughts were overlooked by some people, mainly because they felt that man was confident to build vessels that would remain afloat without fault. One of these examples of human error was the White Star Line's famous Olympic-class liners, the RMS Olympic, the RMS Titanic, and the HMS Britannic. These trios were hoped to be an achievement for the company, bringing it a success and outrival other companies like the Cunard Line. There had been fierce competition between the two British companies, and rather than choosing to focus on speed, White Star wanted to focus on comfort and luxury. However, the construction of the Olympic-class liners deserve their own video on this, and that will be another story for another day. With the design of the ships, the human error is camouflaged with fascination and confidence. Some of this confidence can be inaccurately covered in the press. Like this one example, where in one newspaper source, Captain Smith was interviewed by a journalist following a question about the safety of the ships. In the following words, he claims to have said, "The Olympic is unsinkable, and the Titanic will be the same when she is put in commission. Either of these vessels could be cut in halves, and each half would remain afloat indefinitely. The non-sinkable vessel has been reached in these two wonderful craft. I venture to add that even if the engines and boilers of these vessels were to fall through, the bottoms of the vessels would remain afloat." When he was asked why, Captain Smith explained he wasn't concerned about the Olympic, following her collision, which we will go into shortly. When he was asked why he didn't feel concerned, it was said that the watertight bulkheads were the main reason. However, the newspaper source was a rumour, as the captain only mentioned his thoughts to an unnamed crew member instead of the press. While it was true in the case of the Olympic, to refer to a ship as non or unsinkable is a myth. But what happened to the Olympic before the maiden voyage of the Titanic? In this video, we're going back in time to 1911, when the Olympic, at the height of her career, was involved in an accident which set the stage for the disaster that was about to follow. On the 21st of June 1911, the Olympic completed her maiden voyage from Southampton to New York. But while docking in New York, the Olympic's propeller sucked in a tugboat, the L.O. Hallenberch, pulling it towards the ship's side before the tugboat badly damaged her stern frame. The Olympic only came out with some scratches in her paint. On the 20th of September, the Olympic left Southampton and was on her 5th voyage from there to New York. On board the Olympic that day were the captain, Edward John Smith, and Chief Officer Henry Wilde, Trinity House pilot George William Bower, Quartermaster Albert Haynes, who was also the helmsman, and Second Assistant Engineer Jonathan Shepherd. Also on board there was stewardess Violet Jessup and stoker Arthur John Priest. The Olympic left Southampton docks at her scheduled time, noon, and her passengers and crew had hoped for a pleasant trip. At 12:46 p.m, the Olympic left Southampton and was sailing in the Solette towards the Isle of Wight. While the ship was approaching Bramble Buoy, the captain and crew on the bridge noticed a battle cruiser, the HMS Hawke, who was inbound for Portsmouth, sailing eastbound. The Hawke made a small alteration to turn starboard, which would have given the Olympic room, but neither ship reduced their speed. Then, the Hawke began on a parallel course and the two ships were in danger of a collision. On the bridge, Smith and Bower exchanged words to one another. Knowing what was to follow, Smith told Bower that despite the suction, he didn't believe that the Hawke will be under the Olympic's stern. In response, Bower cried, "If she is going to strike, let me know in time to put our helm hard to port." However, according to Smith, no immediate action had been taken, and instead, Bower asked, "Is she going to strike us or not, sir?" Smith said yes, and told Bower that the Hawke was going to strike the Olympic stern. Bower then gave a command to turn the Hawke hard to port. Haynes managed to get the Olympic's wheel over hard to his right, but despite the Olympic trying to swing her stern away from the Hawke, it was too late to avoid it. The Hawke suffered serious damage to her bow, as a large section had fallen off, but luckily it didn't capsize. In a quick response, Commander Blunt managed to close all the watertight doors in time. On the Olympic side, Captain Smith gave the order to close all the ship's watertight doors. Already seeing two of her compartments flooding, Shepherd immediately took action and began one of a few engineers to close the watertight doors. By the time it happened, the water was up to Shepherd's knees. The Olympic escaped with a triangular hole in her hull on her starboard side. Also, one of the Olympic's propeller shafts twisted. Despite the damages, no one was injured or killed. Olympic was able to return to Southampton under her power, but she was out of action since the incident was problematic. Olympic was patched with wood before she was taken back to Belfast. 5 weeks later, after the incident, the Olympic returned to her schedule. Who was to blame? That's a question which is difficult to answer, but the White Star Line and the Royal Navy blamed one another for a variety of reasons. Both blamed how close the ships were, if the incident was a crossing situation, or if a vessel overtook another on purpose. They also blamed actions on both sides by Captain Smith and Commander W.F. Blunt. In an inquiry, Smith was blamed for his actions, and so had been Boyer. One newspaper account, said by a young officer, blamed Blunt, saying that he was showing off his warship before a throng of passengers and made a miscalculation. At first, the case went to the Admiralty Court to understand what had happened. However, the White Star Line and the Royal Navy didn't go quietly, and the case went on to the House of Lords for a final decision on liability. In conclusion, the House of Lords blamed White Star for the incident, and the Royal Navy was free from blame and charges. However, J. Bruce Ismay, the White Star Line chairman, disagreed, saying that Captain Smith's orders were properly and promptly obeyed. Despite the debates and hearings, White Star continued to attempt to clear their name by offering to find the exact position of location where the incident took place and try to find the broken bow of the Hawke. Their attempts and offerings had failed. The collision was a financial disaster for White Star, and as a result, the Olympic's sister ship, Titanic's maiden voyage, was delayed for months, while the Olympic was being prepared. The collision was a bad sign which would begin the early stages of changing history. 8 months after the incident, the RMS Titanic began her maiden voyage. All who were aboard the Olympic during the collision were on board the Titanic. While George Boyer disembarked the ship in Cherbourg, the rest continued on the journey. In the sinking, Captain Smith, Jonathan Shepherd and Henry Wilde perished. Albert Haynes, Violet Jessop and Arthur John Priest survived. The Olympic went on to have a long career before she was scrapped in the late 1930s. The collision between the Olympic and the Hawke is up for questionable debate, but it has reminded us that while ships are built for grandeur, comfort and speed, no vessel can escape from disasters, whether it is caused by war, nature or human error. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe for future videos. Until next time, this has been History Inside a Nutshell, departing from the docks. Thank you so much for all of your support and enjoy the rest of your voyage.